All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're going to crack open the playbook of international relations. We're going to look at how countries actually get what they want on the world stage using a really simple but incredibly powerful framework.
I mean, it's a huge question, right? When we see nations interacting, making deals, throwing out warnings, or sending aid, what's really going on? What tools are they pulling out of their toolbox to get things done?
The first thing we gotta get out of our heads is that foreign policy is all about soldiers and tanks. That's just a tiny piece of the puzzle. And honestly, it's usually the last resort. Most of the time, the real game is countries choosing how to respond to something, and their options are way broader than you might think.
Okay, so to make sense of all this, we're going to use something called the DIME framework. It's this fantastic acronym that really helps us understand all those choices. Think of DIME as the four main instruments of national power that a government has ready to go.
So, what does it stand for? Simple. D is for diplomatic, I is for informational, M is for military, and E is for economic. Each one is its own unique tool, and once you get them, you'll start decoding global events in a whole new way. So let's break them down.
So let's open up this foreign policy toolbox and start with the first two instruments, diplomacy and information. These are usually the first things a country reaches for because, well, they're about talking and persuading, not fighting. First up, D for diplomatic power. This is the art of talking instead of fighting. It's all about negotiation, building relationships, trying to find some common ground. It's almost always the first tool countries try to use because, frankly, it's the least risky and the least destructive. It's about building bridges, not walls.
And you see this stuff every day in the news. Countries signing big climate treaties, leaders sitting down for peace talks, or the US working super closely with allies like the UK or Japan. All those relationships, they're built and maintained through diplomacy.
Next up, I is for informational power. And wow, in our modern world, this one is just massive. It's all about controlling the narrative, shaping how people see things, and making sure your side of the story is the one that sticks. And with the internet and social media, this stuff spreads like wildfire, so it's more important than ever.
Just think about all the ways this plays out. A formal press conference from a government, a very carefully worded tweet from a world leader, or a whole campaign designed to fight back against propaganda. It's all about winning hearts and minds.
Okay, so now we're going to move on to the other side of the coin. Let's talk about the power of force and finance. We're getting into the M and the E in DIME, often seen as the heavier, more forceful tools in the kit.
M is for military power. This is the one everyone thinks of first, but it's not actually used that often. Of course, it involves troops and weapons, but here's the key. It's also about the threat of force. The fact that it exists can shape what other countries do. It's a powerful deterrent. But because the cost is so high in lives and money, it really is a last resort.
And you can see there's a real range here. On one end, you have direct action like an airstrike, but joining a defensive alliance like NATO is also a use of military power. Even something like moving troops closer to a border can send a huge message to another country, all without firing a single shot. It's a show of strength. And finally, we've got E for economic power. This is all about using money, trade, and financial leverage to get other countries to do what you want. And in our global economy, where everything is so deeply connected, these economic tools can be unbelievably effective. You gotta think of economic power as having two sides to it, kind of like a carrot and a stick. You can use the carrot to reward a country for cooperating with things like foreign aid or a great trade deal. Or you can use the stick to punish a country for doing bad things with sanctions that freeze their money or tariffs that make their stuff way more expensive. So we've looked at each tool one by one, but here's the most important part. This is where the DIME framework really becomes powerful. Understanding that these tools are almost never used alone. This right here is the biggest takeaway. Effective foreign policy is like conducting an orchestra. It's not about just playing one instrument really loud. It's about blending diplomatic, informational, military, and economic power all together into one cohesive strategy. Let's just walk through a quick example. Say a crisis is brewing. A country might start with diplomatic channels, talking with its allies. At the same time, it'll use its informational power to explain its position to the world. Then, to show it's serious, it might move some military forces as a warning. And to really apply pressure, it could hit them with economic sanctions. You see, all four tools working together. This quote from our source material just hits the nail on the head. It's not a checklist. It's a lens for understanding what's happening. The real art is picking the right mix of D, I, M, and E for the right problem at the right time.
So, why does any of this matter to you? Well, because the DIME framework isn't just for politicians or generals. It's a tool that you can use to become a much sharper observer of what's happening in the world.
Once you know this framework, you can look right past the simple headlines. You can start to really get the complex logic behind a government's decisions. You can see the tough trade-offs they have to make. And, this is a big one, you'll stop trying to simplify a messy global issue down to just one thing.
So here's your call to action. Next time you see a headline about some international crisis, just pause for a second and ask yourself, which parts of DIME are they using here? Are they talking? Are they tweeting? Are they moving ships? Are they hitting them with sanctions? I promise, it'll completely change how you see the news.
At the end of the day, DIME is this powerful reminder that a nation's strength is about so much more than just military might. It's the ability to persuade, to shape a narrative, to trade, and to build friendships. And I'll leave you with this thought to chew on. With all of these powerful tools available, maybe the hardest choice for any leader is deciding which tool to leave in the toolbox. Now, why do you think that is? That question gets right to the heart of what strategy and power are all about. Thanks for joining me.